Imagine you just wake up and you open your phone, you scan your little face on your Face ID, and you check your cryptocurrency portfolio, and you've made more from your portfolio in one day, basically overnight, than your full-time salary. And that happened to me literally yesterday. And I wanted to kind of give this video, and we'll talk about some 3 coins at the end of this video. But real quick, this bull run is kicking off and it's getting absolutely crazy. This is something maybe 5 years ago I could only dream of. Like literally, I knew people were doing this in cryptocurrency and stocks, etc. But until you felt it, until you've been in the trenches for so long, it didn't really happen to me till yesterday. And of course, it can fluctuate and go up and down. But you know, the reality of this bull run that we are in right now, the next 6 months, is probably going to be the peak. And like, you can take a small amount of money to millions of dollars if you know what you're doing. And today I woke up, like I said, and I'll show you that in a second, and I made more, pretty much 1.5 years of my old salary working a job in one night in cryptocurrency. Because the vehicle that we're in cryptocurrency is honestly one of the best vehicles to go around. If you think about it, back in the day, we could have bought real estate for $50,000, $25,000. I know a lot of people, great grandpas of people that were probably buying real estate for pretty much hundreds of dollars. Problem with real estate right now, to even get in the game, it's a lot of money. The problem with stock market and the S&P, to even get in the game and make some money, it's a lot of money. So in my opinion, cryptocurrency is one of the best asset classes if you know what you're doing. If you don't know what you're doing, that we're going to talk about at the end of this video, with some 3 cryptos that I'm very bullish on and I have been for a while, you can completely lose everything. So I can't explain, before I show you this, how broke I was here. Like, this is kind of 3 paths of my old lifestyle, I guess you could say. Like, this first image on screen, this was like a couch, because I couldn't afford a couch for my flat. And I was on one of those free websites where the guys would pretty much get rid of an old couch. You would have to pick it up. And the problem was I couldn't even take home that couch because it didn't fit into my car at the time. So I had to leave it. The second image was when I used to work at Exercise for Less in East Kilbride and Hamilton. I used to work in both places. I was making about 25k combined with this job on the right, which is a funny job, but that's what I was doing just to try and make ends meet. And I was making about 25k, maybe 35k combined, working 50 to 60 hours per week, working these 2 jobs. And it was very fucking difficult, but you know, didn't know any other option. And literally, you know, I say this because literally yesterday you can see $49,000 overnight with my spot position, and this doesn't even include everything. I've got obviously DeFi pills, etc., but this is literally yesterday, $49,000 when I woke up. Of course, it's not real until you sell it. You know what we had to realize in 2021, riding it all the way fucking down. That sucked, but that's crazy. 1.5 years of my life to pretty much go asleep. And I know this is unrelatable to some people, but you know, hopefully, you know, we started this portfolio in 2022. 3 years later, we built this up. The problem is, with some of the coins we're going to talk about in this video, is probably not going to be able to get rich with Bitcoin, HBAR, Ethereum, Solana, Brett, maybe, but it's a more riskier play. So that's the biggest problem. But, you know, you get in at the price you deserve. You know, we would all love to go back to 2011 when Bitcoin was, what, 50 cents, $1, whatever. Like the guys that were telling us to buy Bitcoin there, of course, many of us weren't old enough to actually buy, but you know, you get in at the price you deserve. You know, that's the reality. And whether you make money or lose money, that's up to you. So let's talk about 3 cryptos that we're going to go over today with $50. It's not really about the $50, let's be honest. I'm not going to give you some pre-sales, but the real, it's about the perspective on how the $50 can really start a flywheel. The portfolio I show you today, even the one I lost in 2021, that came with a $50 to $100 strategy of buying my first Bitcoin, buying my first Ethereum, not obviously buying a full Bitcoin for $50, but buying my piece of the pie to get in the game. Because the perspective people have is they think they can put $100 into a coin and get rich, and the reality is they don't. For the people that do want to get rich over the long term, what you have to do is you have to DCA. You have to invest what you can. The problem is we're getting late in the cycle. Okay, the prices are getting so effing high, and the $50 today that you're able to buy, like 2-3 years ago, 22, 23, you would be able to buy a lot more. Like, you would get more coins. Okay, and we're going to talk about that as well going forward. So again, let's show you my portfolio. And just real quick, the $1 million might be unattainable to some people. Everybody wants to be a billionaire. I promise you, when you become a millionaire, like, nothing really changes. It's all about now the 10 million, right? So it's like you're trying to always chase, in my opinion. It should be you versus you. It should not be me versus you. It should not be you versus me. It should be you versus you. You need to come in the game every single year and beat your previous self. Okay, that's the way I look at this now after losing everything in 2021. So Again, I show you this not to be a jerk. I show you this because nobody showed me this in 2021 and 2020 when I first started. Everybody just talked about percentages and I never used to believe it. I show you this because I'm in the game. So you can see all time we're up now at $753,000. Cost basis is 400K. And I don't think I'm going to buy anything else, to be honest. And that might be discerning to you because, you know, you might be looking at starting to get into cryptocurrency and you'll be like, well, Jake's not buying. So why should I even bother buying? Well, because I've already filled up the main bags. If you want to make a lot of money in the next 6 months in this bull market, if you believe in the 4-year cycle, which most of us probably do, if you've studied it, because that was one of the things that I did in the last bull run, not understanding the 4-year cycle, and that's why I lost everything. So you probably should look into the 4-year cycle. But if you want to make a lot of money in this bull run, you're not going to do it with Bitcoin. Probably not. HBAR, maybe a little bit of gains. Ethereum, probably not. Solana, maybe. It's once you start coming down here, man, more riskier plays, but they're risky. They're not guaranteed. For me, the Bitcoin buying at $23,000, my average price, that was always guaranteed to do well. The HBAR at 6 cents average, the 36 when we started to buy it again because we fucked up at 14 cents, that was always guaranteed, in my opinion, to do well. And a lot of those people that sold in 22 and 23 now are buying in 24 and 25. Big mistake. The Ethereum, my average cost base of 974, it was a no-brainer that it was going to do well in this bull cycle. The Solana, in my opinion, yes, it was risky. Buying, my actual average in this says 103, but it was a lot lower. I had to raise it because I did a pool recently and that brought it way up. My actual average on Solana, I think it's like $20, but because I recently bought in a pool, that's why it's jumped up so much. When I bought a big chunk at about 110 to about 150, because I was buying a double chunk, if that makes sense. But when you start to come down the line, now render I do think is one of the biggest ones that will do well, but the problem is I don't have enough render. And that's just reality. Could buy more. It's probably the only thing I would really buy right now, but again, just running away from us in my opinion. So I'm kind of done with this, and I'm just kind of taking this portfolio to what I can do. So again, I tell you that because it's a big problem. You can't just come in the market and expect you're going to get rich at these prices today. And I show you this because we've been in the game since peak bear. Okay, I made this video on Solana, and again, you can come back and check it. December 23, 2022, when everything was going to shit. I called this video why you need 1,000 Solana, and it was risky at the time. Solana was crashing. I think the lowest it got to was $8. Obviously right now, look at the price. You know, this trade would have probably made, I don't know, 150K and probably over $1 million by peak 25, depending on how far Solana can go. But again, it was risky. Like, we didn't know it was going to happen, and it was hard to make any moves, and that's why most people were on the fence, and that's fine to do. Like, the probably best time to like guarantee yourself we're going to do well was probably in 2023. Buying in 2022, even though it was late 22, it was risky because we didn't know when the peak bottom was going to be, but this was pretty close. And this was risky to me, although I didn't buy, you know, a full 1,000 Solana. I think I've got about 269. So I got a quarter there, but this was risky because we didn't know if Solana was going to be back. And after losing everything in 2021, it was kind of hard to buy anything, to be honest. But what else was there to do in life? There was really nothing else. I already seen the paper gain, so I was like, okay, let me take a shot. And I think this is really motivating for the young guy or even the older guy looking at getting cryptocurrency that can see me losing everything, but to build it back up to $1 million. But yeah, we had to build ourselves back for the next bull run, right? Because what else was there to do? I wasn't interested in stocks, although I have a little bit of stocks in the S&P, but you know, what else was there to do? Couldn't really buy real estate because I seen the money on paper. I wanted to start again, and I think that's very important. So the people always ask the questions people say is, well, what does it matter if I invest? You know, if you look back to me on this image, number one, I didn't even think about investing. I was just trying to get my income up, and I was doing very badly at that. But I would always run into people, and it reminds me of my younger self. It was like, okay, what is the point of investing? Okay, it's just such little money to chuck in $50, $100 a week. But the honest answer to that is the best time to invest was yesterday. The second best time to invest is today. And it's always going to be that case because you will start investing eventually. That's guaranteed. And the reality is, if we could all go back in a time machine 10 years ago and buy Bitcoin, it would be great. You could buy most stocks 10 years ago, Amazon's, Facebook's, or Meta's, or Twitter's, whatever, the Google's. But the reality is, like, we never think about that. We're going to age anyways. So you might as well start today. Even if you completely fuck up, if you buy solid coins and you round trip this bull run, I get it. That's obviously not the plan. We plan to sell near the tops and 20% strategies, compound the solid coins we like to gain to increase our income in that way, or to increase our portfolio. But if you just buy Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, and you round trip it, as long as you keep the coins in a hardware wallet, you will make money in the long term. That's guaranteed, in my opinion. It's when you start to try and time it and you just go crazy and just get a little bit too speculative, that's when you lose it. Because here's something I thought was very interesting. I Googled the average compounding annual growth rate on Ethereum and Bitcoin. And this is even without including like selling and rebuying, what we just talked about there, right? This is if you were just to hold it, obviously through the bear markets, and obviously the bull markets go up way more. So the average on Ethereum, give or take, is 23%. Okay, the average on Bitcoin in the last 13 years is 102%. And that's a little bit skew with, because obviously at the starting part of Bitcoin's game, it was going up thousands of percent, and then the bear markets would kick it down. But that's just the average right now. And this is how compounding really works. Like, this is crazy. And this, again, this is without even coming back into coins. E.g. today in this bull market, Bitcoin goes to 150K, you rebuy it back at 50. You'll obviously make way more fucking money. This is just holding. And this is when it gets crazy. Let's say you bought Ethereum, okay, $1,000, and you were compounding at 23%, which is the exact number that this gave us on screen for the last 7 years. Now, if you just did this for 30 years, give or take, and you just invested $500 a month, you would have over $25 million. You want to see what Bitcoin's is? What did we say Bitcoin's was? 102, basically 103 actually. For 30 years, let's calculate that. It's going to be disgusting. There you go. So let's just say for 10 years, because that number is way too big. Like, that is reality. 100, what is that? That number is just way too big. Let's just say for 5 years, that's $1 million. So if you invested at an interest rate compounding of 5 years, $1,000, 500 a month, you'd have $1 million. Crazy. And I think it's very important for people to do that, because they're trying to make money tomorrow and they don't understand it. Now, that data is a little bit skew with, because it's really interest rate, not really compounding, but you get the point. It's just to show you that even if you completely fuck up selling and buying, you'll learn something, you'll get ahead in the game. And the hardest part for most people is actually starting. And it takes time. Okay, this is little Messi here when he was a kid. Imagine if Messi said, oh, there's no point to trying, there's no point to kicking this ball for 3-4 hours a day, you know, every day consistently. Like, there's no point. There's like, that goes back to us. There's no point in investing $50 every single week. There's no point. I'm just too far behind. Well, you know, if you think about that, time is going to pass anyway. So the next 10, 20, 30 years, like, they're going to happen regardless. So you might as well, because you can get sit and you can get pissed off at my portfolio and you can say there's no point because he's so far ahead, or you can compete with yourself, and that's the goal. Because Messi could do it, well, his kids are way older than him, they're way faster than him, so why should I even kick this ball? It's the same game. Time is going to pass, so you might as well do it anyways if you're going to do it in the future, because the compounding makes it so much faster. And I don't know why many people think about this. Again, if you look at Usain Bolt, for example, it's the same. Back in 2002, he's probably like, why am I sprinting for hours and hours? Like, I could just not bother. Look at him now. I think he's got a $95 million net worth because he just tried. He compounded. And that's the most important thing. And investing is actually easy. All you need to do is you don't need to go and kick a ball for 5-10 hours per day. You don't need to go and run and have a healthy diet. You can work a normal job, save income, cut expenses, compound it, and you hit $1 million faster than you think. Because the goal should be in 10 years' time. Okay, you pat yourself in the back. In 10 years' time from today, you should say thank you for putting in the work. Because if you don't, it's going to get difficult. In the last 10 years, it's got just look at the prices. Everything's got more expensive. And it's not a comparison game. The worst thing you can do is go to yourself and say, oh, if I only did this. If you're on your deathbed at 80 years old, you're not going to regret the stuff you didn't do. You're going to regret the stuff that you should have done. And we should do more. And the real for me, since 2022, this is where it gets kind of sad, this. I've been saying since 2022, my dad, to just buy Bitcoin and some other cryptos again. Bitcoin was like 16, 17, 18K at the peak bear. And he always goes, that's too late, he's too old now. And I'm like, bro, what are you talking about? It's so sad. I get these messages all the time on email and Twitter, etc. A guy could be like, oh, I'm 68 years old. I wish I had someone that taught me about investing earlier. I wish I was your age again. Bro, just start. You're going to live anyways. So you might as well. Doesn't make sense to me. And everybody should have at least $100 a week to invest. Okay. And if you don't, that's a real problem. Okay. A lot of people are trying to keep up with the Jonases. They buy the latest TV. They buy the latest car. They take out the new finance. They're just trying to buy expensive stuff, like stupid stuff like this. This was a stupid purchase. Don't do this. But, you know, maybe it holds a little bit of value. But it was just stupid, right? And you don't realize it until you do it. As long as you can mimic the stupid stuff and not pay any fucking interest, you'll be fine. If you don't, you have a problem. Number one, you need to cut expenses. Or number two, increase your income. There's no in between. You can't get investing if you have literally $0. So you have to look at what you're spending, you have to look at your income, and you have to cut something or increase something. It's that simple. There's no other way around, because too many people are buying things with money they don't have to impress people that you don't even like. And if you think small, you're going to die. This guy forget his name, David J. Swanty. Believe big. The size of your success is determined by the size of your belief. If you think little goals, you're going to get little achievements. Now, before we get into the coins, I know that was a long fucking intro, but I think it's important to talk about that. If you want to buy any of these coins, we're still working with BTCC. You get a 10% cashback bonus. If you deposit $500, in 30 days, they'll give you a free $50. So you can take that from me as a free $50 to you. We're talking about investing $50 to $100 every single week in compounding. If you do this, you'll get a free $50, not directly from me, but if you use my link, you'll get it, I guess you could say, from me. So if you do want to do that, it's great. These guys have been trusted for 14 years. They've got over 300 cryptocurrencies on the site, and no VPN, no KYC. VPN for us in the UK, so you will need a VPN. Nord is like $2 a month, and you should have a VPN, as I always say, if you're handling a lot of money on your laptop or on your phone. So check them out. Link in description if you want to buy some coins and get that free discount. Now, again, before we even start about coins, there's obviously hundreds, thousands, millions of coins we could talk about. And I would like to buy them all, but that would be a little bit stupid because it would just be way too spread. And obviously, I wish we had a time machine. I wish we all had a time machine where we could go back and we could buy in the bear markets, sell at the peaks. That's not possible. And I would also like to go back to 2011 and buy Bitcoin at less than $1. I would sell literally everything. Didn't have anything, but I would find a way to get at least 100, 1,000 Bitcoin. You would do it. But you get in at the time you deserve. Coin number one is going to be Render. The reason I'm putting Render on this one is I think it's one of the easiest multipliers for the risk/reward in the market at the current time. Now, the unfortunate thing is, Render, when I did my last buy at $2.70, give or take, April 7th, I remember it vividly, it's pretty much doubled. Okay? But if you look at its previous all-time high, okay, in this cycle, it's about $12. So you're still getting a 2 to 2.2x discount if you believe Render is going to beat that. Now, I do think it does. The market cap is $2.67 billion. And if you look on the chart, it looks absolutely fine. The reason why I'm bringing it up is I look at NVIDIA and I compare this crypto to NVIDIA all the time. And that is an AI stock versus an AI crypto. The caveat to this is obviously Render is way more risky. But here is the kicker. Again, you get in at the price you deserve. I believe the future in AI crypto is going to be massive. Many of these coins and many of these AI coins are going to run, in my opinion. Okay, but what Render do differently is they actually have revenue with their GPU power, and a lot of people don't understand that. Okay, again, I'm not going to hold this for 10 years. It's to get in whenever you can, sell at the peak around the top 2020, whenever you can, and rebuy if you still think Render is going to be here. That's the best way I see it. Again, I don't want to ride this up. Get happy. Know it's going to crash and hold on, because I think that would be very silly. But the kicker with Render really is, if you look, okay, at NVIDIA, the current market cap of NVIDIA is $3.2 trillion. Render right now is only $2.7 billion. Okay, now obviously Render is never going to get to NVIDIA's market cap, but that's 1,000x smaller. Okay, think about that. The only way you can get rich off NVIDIA now is if you were buying 1,000x smaller, 100x smaller, maybe 10x smaller if you have more capital. But I think the risk/reward just makes a lot of sense. AI is obviously going to be here for this bull run. Again, you just look at the Twitter and you just see so many products that these guys have. Okay, you look at their website and you actually see exactly what they're doing. And I always like to come into the AI space on CoinMarketCap and just compare. Okay, let's look at apples to apples. And all I really see is apple to oranges. Because when I look at a company, okay, they're not even a crypto, I would call them a company, compared to this shit. Nothing wrong with Baby Doll, it's just random coin. When I look at this stuff, it can make you money. But the problem is, are you going to bet this? If you wanted a safe coin that you would DCA consistently, I would not do it for this. This would be a moonshot where you chuck a lump sum in and you see what happens once you've got the main firepower doing it. Because this is not AI, bro. Like this is just a cute little website that a bunch of influencers are going to get paid to pump, and that's fine, I guess. But this is not going to be here for the long term. This probably is. NVIDIA would not be here for the long term if this was a proposition value, okay? So I hope you guys can understand that. Again, you can get rich off these coins. I'm not here to say that you can't. But in my opinion, if we're doing the Leon Messi way, the Usain Bolt way of consistently increasing income, trying to DCA, what those guys are doing when they're working on their craft, we're working our craft on investing, you can't just get lucky. It's just too overrated in my opinion. So Render would be the first coin for that scenario. I do think it does well. It probably goes to $50. It might even go higher. Anything beyond that, it is a little bit risky, but I think it's the easiest 10x on the list right now. And the next coin, I have to put HBAR still on this list. I know you're not going to get rich on HBAR unless you're coming in with size, but I do think, and I just like to show HBAR when I can, the best time to buy was obviously the 3, the 4, the 5, 6 cents when we started to buy it. after our fuck-ups in 21 and 22. That was a disaster, but that's how you lower your entries. I think H-bar for the risk/reward. Remember, this is a risk/reward I would still DC into if I was looking at coins. It's not a moonshot play. Obviously, Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana would be better, but in my opinion, they're just too high market cap. They're not worth the risk at this part in the cycle, in my opinion. I think H-bar is still a 5x at $1. It could even push past that. But again, you'd have to be a little bit more risk on because it'll be getting pretty frothy. It just depends how far Bitcoin can go and at what time. You know, if Bitcoin goes to 200 grand, don't think it will, by the way. Like H-bar is probably going to go to 150. So I still think there's a 4 to 5x multiplier in this. I still think it's going to be safe. You've seen what it did when Donald Trump won the election. Okay, it's here to stay. It's in the made in the USA category if you haven't seen that yet. And I think it's a solid coin. I would love to give you a time machine and buy this at 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 cents, but we don't have that. It's the same with Bitcoin. And I would still advocate buying this, although I can't tell you what to do. You know, I've been buying this nonstop and I filled up my bags a long time ago and I'm letting the rest run. I've got a very bad story with H-bar in the last run, but I decided to buy it. I think the circulating supply is great. And I just think they're going to be here. They're actually a real business. Google, Bowen, etc. They've got a lot of cool stuff. The last coin I would still buy is Sui. Okay, now again, we have the same scenario as with Render. On kind of like April 7th, it's almost doubled, I guess you could say. It's close. Sui hasn't had a 2021 bull run. Sui also are developing a PSP kind of console, so they're kind of going under gaming right now. The market cap is safe enough where I think it would probably be here for this bull run. Again, it's not had a first bull run, so we don't really know how far this can go. This would be my risk on event against Solana. Okay, Solana's way far gone in terms of this market cap. Sui will outperform it in terms of returns, not market cap. And I do think this coin is going to be here. The DeFi activity is great. On Turbo Finance, we use that all the time, like I've spoke about for almost a year. You can make a lot of money with it, and it's just fast, it's scalable, and they're obviously interacted with the Phantom Wallet as well. Team's great, everything's great. You know, I guess you could say they're a business. I don't think they're producing revenue as far as what H-bar or like Render are doing yet, but they technically are with their PSP console that they sold. So again, companies or businesses or cryptos that have real world revenue, big adapters, a good supply to demand ratio, still low market cap, but are high enough where it's going to be safe. Like, those are what I look for at this stage in the cycle. You can use these coins and then rotate them to riskier plays later on in the cycle. We'll talk about that going forward towards October, November, December, and Q4, where we can get a little bit juicier with these gains. But at this time in the market, man, you know, these coins are really going to fly if Bitcoin keeps pushing up and that money starts to rotate. So again, the best time to invest is yesterday. The second best time to buy is today. And it sucks to tell you guys to buy these coins at these prices, but that's just reality. Okay, 22, 23, 24 were the best times for this bull cycle. But if you're looking at coins to invest in, if you click on a video like this, I have to tell you that I would play it a little bit more safe at this time in the market. And again, I still think these returns for the stock market and other investments are still great. Okay, you have to wait years and years and years in the S&P 500 to still get the gains that you can get on these safe coins. Nothing's foolproof. Sui can still have problems. It can still not have a great bull run, but all I can look is at data, and I can tell you what I'm doing to where I think this could go. So those are my 3 coins. There's going to be a lot of people pissed off with the title of this video. The $50 thing is about getting started, because I remember so many people that just convincing them. Sometimes in 2020, I would even just send somebody $50 on their Coinbase account. Okay, just to get them started, right? I will give you $50, I would say, if you open up a Coinbase and you start buying. So the $50, the $100 is what gets you in the game. And that gets you DC in for the long term. Now, if you can combine and understand the 4-year cycles, get in and get out, that's how you multiply that. But a lot of people don't. Okay, a lot of people do lose money in the first bull run. And as long as you don't sell and you buy strong assets, they're probably going to be here in 2029 and 2030. Ideally, you know, you're going to be taking the spiritual advice. I can't give you financial advice. To time and rinse and repeat cycles that I'm going to try and do live. Okay. But again, worst case scenario, Bitcoin, it'll crash hard, but in 10, 20, 30 years, you're not going to be sorry with your returns. That's all I got. I'd love to know your comments in the section below. Peace and take care.